And Jolly Green.
This is Water Elemental. And we're here to talk about the Hex Shards of Fate podcast, Hexology. We've got some interesting news this week. We've got a new card from Set 2 previewed on Game Informer, as well as 2 patch notes, because they kind of came out 3 days.
Yeah, hey, we'd rather wait to actually have something to talk about
late.
than just fill your ears with diarrhea. You don't want that. You don't want ear diarrhea, do you?
That's what the League of Legends podcast is for nowadays. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba. So let's start with the new card. This was previewed on Game Informer, and it is the Heart of Fire. It is a 3-cost, 2 ruby threshold basic action that says deal 1 damage to each opposing troop and champion, and then permanently increase the damage dealt by each of your ruby actions.
Initially, this card looks a little weak, but I honestly think that this could be a very decent card in a red burn deck.
Well, it can wipe out a lot of battle hoppers.
It's
right off the bat
increasing everything by
That's already 1+.
It's increasing the various pyroclasm type effects. That becomes very potent. Any single burn spell is... it's not just basic actions, it's quick actions as well, so you're getting both functionality there, and I don't see a way you can remove this effect. Any effect that you can't take off the board is a good effect. At least if it benefits you.
Yeah, and I'm wondering how this is going to work. Is it going to just add it to your deck, field, and hand, and it'll just get a +1 in their text, or is it going to...
I bet it just modifies the text of every card
it
instantly.
Just adds the +1, so I'm kind of curious. Interesting. Hopefully that works out, and it's not super buggy.
Yeah, 1 becomes 2, 2 becomes 3, X becomes X plus 1. I mean, I just... decent. Not a world breaker, but I mean, it's still good.
It's still decent.
I don't know. I think it's more of a constructed card than
sealed. Sealed, that's for sure.
I don't see that being good and sealed at all.
Really? 3 cost, deal 1 to everything on the
field
is
I guess.
pretty decent to me.
It depends on the deck, I suppose. You're only getting half the use of the card most cases if you use it in sealed, but whatever. We have differing opinions. You can just go, kiss a peanut.
How dare you insult me and differentiate your opinion
Next,
from my
opinion? Next, we have patch version 829. This one, it works on the tournaments a little bit. It says players are no longer asked if they want to forfeit when leaving a tournament if they have been eliminated from it already, so that's kind of removing that insult to injury. You have been defeated. You want to forfeit? Do I have a choice? They just
admit it. You suck. Corey's
they made some quality of life improvements to the error messages. That's pretty much it for tournaments in general. They spiced up some various animations, some battle animation, victory and defeat animation. They removed some sort of pink residue from cards being destroyed, whatever that is.
Certain cards would, if they're removed from the field, would leave black, pink or black, just voids that you couldn't get rid of. So they just kind of
fixed a big bug, a fail to start game bug. They finally squished, quote unquote, that one. That's awesome. It's kind of irritating when you start a game and then you just kind of freeze and you're like, I don't, okay. So that's gone. They gave names to starter decks. Some improvements to the navigation bar, mail interface. Great. That's
new
good
logo
stuff.
when you log in. Screen's loading.
The gameplay they improved upon. Various cards like Briar Legion, Ozawa, Cosmic Elder, etc. no longer immediately die when you put them into the play with Eye of Creation. Seems like a good card interaction there.
That's so awful. Like, I could just see that happening where someone puts Aya Creation and you have a high Tomb Lord that could probably get like 12 or 13 cards, comes into play and immediately dies because it's not checking.
They also made some card balance changes. Royal Falconer now costs 4, down from 5, and he now has 1 defense, which was originally 2. I believe that's a good card fix. It makes him... I don't know, you can also build a deck around him now, because he comes into play with 2 Falcons that both get X attack equal to the attack of the Falconer. So you just beef up the Falconer, give him Swift Strike, which is extremely easy in his cost, which is Ruby, and you send him and the Falcons in, and you get triple your bonuses. So...
yeah, because you get 2 Falcons that are going to be dealing 4 each, because they're 1 plus the 2, so no, that's 3 each, and then whatever additional damage that the Falconeer gets from buff. So he can scale very easily, and then bringing his defense down to 1 makes him an easier target to kind of stop that hard-hitting synergy. They also added some balance changes to Phoenix Guard Scout. He is now a little bit cheaper. They reduced his cost by 1, so he's now to 2. His attack is now 1 drop from 2, but his defense is now 3. So they moved his attack to his defense. So for
actually, I think this is a huge buff to this card. Mostly because the magic number in this game right now is 3. Yes. 3 defense eliminates a lot of kill spells. And making him a 1/3 fits him perfectly into a blue flyer deck that buffs the junk out of flyers in the first place. So the 1 attack is not going to be that big a deal, and the 3 defense is huge. And making him a 2 cost, fantastic. I think that was I don't think that's a balance thing. I think that they just straight up made this card better.
Yeah, he seemed like kind of... for 3, there was a lot of better flyers and blue cards you could put in your deck. So making him a 2-1-3
we could go on and on for days about all these balance changes. Just know that they changed like 30 cards.
Some of the big nerfs were the Zombie Plague now costs 3, and the fact that Uraz, the green... or no, it's Jedim, now is not buffed permanently for every card you put into play. It is for the end of turn for each card you play. So instead of coming on turn 5 and then turn 6 buffing him with a lot of cards and he gets that permanently, everything...
yeah, and they also made a few changes to the Dwarven dudes, the guys that interact with robots, both red and blue. They decreased their attack a little bit and buffed their defense a little bit to make them more utility blockers. They have abilities, they can sit there, absorb a defensive roll, and tap to put out a new something or buff a new something. So, rather than just sit there and do nothing but, tap, they're basically constants. Now they actually have blocking utility with that magic number of 3. So...
another huge buff was
that was
Mimic
massive.
Got its cost
like, Mimic is so darn playable now.
Yeah, because it creates a replica of a creature that comes into play, or a replica of a creature from play into your hand. So if the text is still what I'm reading right, a replica is an artifact creature instead of just a copy of target card. So that means you can pretty much, for 2, get any card from the field, put it into your hand, and then replay it. In a Dwarven deck, yeah. Any Dwarf deck that uses artifacts, you could probably get a really expensive card, put it back into play, and then play another Mimic and do it again.
Hopefully, if the way I'm understanding this is correct, it becomes colorless and an artifact, if it's a troop, period. So it loses Threshold, which is the big deal.
Yes.
So making this a 2 cost is extremely aggressive on this card. I like it.
And the last really big change was Chlorophilia. Now is 2 cost and reads, play a random wild shard card from your deck. So instead of creating 2 threshold and then 2 resources directly, it takes a shard from your deck for 2, which in some way is actually a little bit better because you're reducing your deck by 1, removing a shard from your deck and putting it into play.
I don't know. There's a lot of acceleration.
Acceleration is going to slow down
green right now, and it's going to allow other cards to play off of shards coming into play, like Wild Root Dancer. So I can see the benefits of this one, and I believe they outweigh the the pros definitely outweigh the cons on this balance change.
The cons.
So I'm actually all right with most of this. This makes a lot of cards go from to I can play that card. I can play that card. Yeah.
It's not useless like
hey,
some
every
cards
set
we've seen, like,
in every card game has to
Warriors?
have a handful, if not a buttload, of cards that are just completely unplayable. Finding the balance between that is what separates the good card games from the bad card games. But, I mean, you got to have context. You got to know what's good from the, oh my gosh, that's so broken. I mean...
Not every card can be good, and there has to be a lot of cards that are just filler, and cards that will just be basic statless cards that might just be blockers, might just be basic wild grizzlies.
Otherwise, you won't be able to tell the difference between Tarmogoyf and Chimney.
Cost card.
You gotta have that middle ground.
Moving on to patch 830, we have 2 new features. The Swiss-style tournaments are now live. We want to focus on current tournament testing, specifically on Swiss. So, not single elimination. This is more a formal kind of state and regional event tournament styles where it's not just you lose once and you're over. You play, honestly, if you win, you play another person.
The majority of tournaments are going to be Swiss, or at least start out as Swiss. Because large tournaments, even 8-player tournaments, who wants to pay money to be in a draft where the first round you could be done if you got bad cards? Nobody. If you're going to pay the money, you at least want to get your money's worth. An 8-player tournament takes at least 3 rounds of Swiss to determine a winner. And it's the same for a single elimination tournament. 8 rounds gets you, or 8 players gets you 3 rounds of single elimination too, but why not have everybody play? Everybody gets to play no matter what happens. So, Swiss is
the way to go unless
now
you're
massive
really
tournaments
stuck on time,
like 100-player plus
win a
tournaments
tournament
will use Swiss, cut to the top 8, 16, something like that, and then do single elimination from there. So Swiss is going to be an integral part, and I'm glad they got it in early.
I prefer Swiss tournaments. That's what I've played most of the time, and it's you'll have more downtime because you're kind of waiting for more and more people to finish up each round instead of it just kind of getting faster and faster as the rounds progress. But it keeps you in the tournament. It keeps you playing instead of just, all right, and you have a chance of winning even if you lose your first round. You can still win the next 3 or 4 and still make it to the final.
Happens. Sometimes you get an unlucky draw, and you don't want to have a whole tournament. You don't want to have your whole tournament hinge on one game in the first round, first 3 rounds. That's no fun. And even if you lose and have no chance of cutting, you still want to play and get better. Tournament environments allow you to improve your skills. Because, I mean, playing a casual game with friends is nothing like playing a tournament game. There is nerves involved, especially at a high level. It's something you have to get used to. And, I mean, absolutely. No, the pressure definitely doesn't help you play.
Helps you play.
But, oh, Jesus, no.
For me, it does, because I become a little bit more focused.
Much worse player, like... Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Like, in casual games, I'll let you take that back. But I become a gigantic douchebag when it comes to a tournament that has something on the line. Oh, yeah, when there's stakes, I'm not going to let you play that. You played it.
If something's on the stake.
People do the exact same thing to me, so why should I have any mercy?
I've had so many tournaments where a guy was like, can I take that back? Can I take that back? I'm like, no. And I sit there and I play a card. He's like, I'll let you take that back if you let me take back my stuff. I'm like, I played that card. I made the mistake, and I'm going to roll with it because I'm not a prick.
I don't want to talk about that. Anyway.
So is colluding.
Yeah, they did a few other things
for another day.
In patch 830 with tournaments. They made some scroll bars better. They changed the tournament timer, 20-minute tournament timer to restriction. Oh, pineapple. They removed the 20-minute tournament timer. So, I'm not sure what that means.
I don't know if that's... I think that's if if the game can't start in 20 minutes, they have to reset or something like that. But
Whatever. Anyway,
I'm not
some
sure.
just other drafting kind of stuff. Clicking on a card will highlight the card, and any highlighted card will be chosen for you should time run out for that pick. So it kind of lets you, at least at first glance, look at the cards, be like, ooh, I like this card, but I'm going to keep looking. And if you aren't paying attention to the timer, at least you'll get that card rather than no card. Or a random card. I don't know how they were doing that before.
The biggest thing about that is, sometimes you could be reading a card and the timer can't be seen. So if you scroll into a card and you're not paying attention on time, I've gotten kicked off to the next thing, and I'm like,
So
well, I
that's
just
the thing.
selected the card I was reading.
Now the save as
well.
function works as intended, rather than saving over the first deck in your list. I didn't know that was a thing, but I guess so. Friend commands are now listed in /help, so you can actually type /help into the chat bar, and you'll get a list of commands rather than just having to guess. So that's extremely helpful.
One big feature is that they now support paid tournaments with prize payouts. So if you buy into a tournament with Platinum and you place in the tournament enough to actually earn prizes, you get prizes, and it will pay you back out with support. So they're testing that right now.
Are
so
they
if
just
you want
going
to
to give
increase
out
your chances
platinum
of
for
getting
platinum, or are they going to give out
as you're
platinum
buying.
for packs, or?
It's gonna be depending on the tournament. It will say it's straight out a higher pay for like platinum, or you can go in for booster packs, or you can go in for promo cards, or you can go in for tournament registrations for bigger events. And so there's going to be a lot of different sections that they're going to have. But right now, just to test the prize feature, it looks like they're just going to go platinum for platinum. So you probably pay $2 to enter a tournament.
I'm okay
and
with
then
this.
Come out with like 6 or 7. So. I'm okay with it too. If the tournament price is cheap, I will do it. But I suck at card games, and I suck at tournaments. Especially if I'm going to be sitting here at the computer, I'm going to have like music playing in the background, and be like, not paying attention, or my internet disconnects. So I'm just like.
Anyway, some gameplay changes. Any of the incantations or abilities that put counters on things like the construction plans. Soul Marble, Giant Cocoon, stuff like that. Anything that transforms after a certain amount of counters is put on it, those counters are going to be removed before they transform. So any cards that would revert them, like Revert, they don't just automatically transform back because the counters are still there. No, the counters are gone now. So they have to reapply them. Seems pretty logical, straightforward to me.
I'm wondering if they fixed
I don't think they did.
Briarford Contour.
Yeah, as far as I know, it's
Briar
still
Legion
broken,
Contour.
but-
Nope, she's still broken.
Gem abilities are no longer removed upon reversion, so gems are retained through transformations now, which is nice. Pineapple. Time Ripple no longer has the game text of Buccaneer. Didn't notice that was a problem, but seems like an obvious fix there.
Yeah, Time Ripple was essentially Buccaneer as a spell card, so I'm wondering if Time Ripple will have an additional effect, or if it's going to be a different ability now, because essentially they were the same card.
Also, some known issues that are not yet fixed. They have a pairing issue with the Swiss algorithm, so they still need to get that locked down. Non-troop artifacts do not play their sounds when they enter play. That's not a huge thing to me. The card preview and draft no longer functions. It did before, doesn't now. Yeah, just a few other small things. Anyway, that's pretty much it for our patches and the new card. So, yeah. A lot of...
Yeah. Other news, just they showed a lot of art for the upcoming art book for the backers. A lot of interesting stuff for there. They talked about, the high details of what the dwarfs are supposed to look like, how mechanical they're supposed to be, opposed to how dwarfy they're supposed to be. I love the fact that elves are, there's this huge, list of things that elves are supposed to be. It's like you have to have their eyebrows this way.
They're basically
If their
defining
eyebrows
what
are
makes
like this
their
way,
elves
they can't
unique
glow. They're not
versus
magical.
other elves,
They have to
and
have.
They want to let you know that we're going to keep our elves looking the same, so it's not just random stupid things that make our elves look like elves. They're defining what characteristics visually they want to, So.
The race has. Which I'm okay with. I just thought it was funny looking at the notes, and they're just like, can't do this, can't do this, can't do this, can't do this. I'm just like, I bet artists are mad that they're
you
taking
gotta
away their
distinguish
creativity.
yourself some way, and why not?
But they're being paid to make. Their elves do look like
their
if I looked
elves
at their
look
elf
like
compared to
green
another elf,
versions
I'd be like, that's a hex
of
elf.
the Avatar Na'vi. Am I wrong? Yeah. So that's
No, you're right.
That's my
They
take
look
on it,
exactly
but,
like that.
What do I know?
Yeah.
Clearly.
Nothing.
I envy Jon Snow.
You
man.
know nothing, Jon Snow.
He's got a good gig up there in the frozen tundra, getting shot with arrows.
I want his tundra. Spoilers. Anyways, that was a weird squeak. Anyways, that's it for this episode, guys. Kind of cramming in 2 patches on
Whatever, deal with
accident. We didn't even know one of them was out when we started recording, so... If you guys like the show, if you have any comments, questions, anything like that, feel free to send it to us at spasticgaming@gmail.com, on our Facebook page, or in the comment section down below. We love when some feedback is sent to us. It helps us grow the show. It helps
Plus,
us
you get a
interact
free
with you
plug.
guys because we love interacting with people.
we'll
when
even
people actually
advertise
watch.
for your ice cream shop if you wanted us to, but, you know. And
Steve
boy,
from
is
Steve's
it
Ice Cream
delicious
in
creamy
Northern
stuff.
Kentucky asks.
The ice cream. I mean, the ice cream. Just wanted to be clear.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad you were.
And an embarrassed Jolly Green.
This has been Water Elemental.
I love ice cream.
He really likes his ice cream.